How to grow large tomatoes in containers. This is part of my container garden. I'm growing 5 varieties of tomatoes on the deck. There are 3 keys to successful tomato growing in containers. You need a large container, and I predominantly use a 5-gallon container bought at Home Depot or Lowe's. They will cost you about $3 a container. You also have to make sure you water the plants regularly. Right now it's July 12th here, and I have to water these plants every day. And the other thing is to make sure you fertilize your tomatoes with a liquid fertilizer, probably almost weekly once they get this large and are producing fruit. The tomato will grow as large as the container will let it, and it will take all the nutrients out of the container soil very, very quickly. What you'll notice with this tomato, well, actually all the tomatoes, is that in the bottom of the container, 2 inches from the ground, I put a hole in it, and that's to allow excess water to drain out. But the 2 inches lets you keep a reservoir in your container, and your tomatoes will use that. You don't need to worry about water sitting in the bottom and damaging your tomato. What I can tell you about watering is if you just miss a single day of watering and the entire container dries out, your tomato will have problems. The fruit may crack, the roots may not be able to pick up nutrients, but you end up with a smaller plant and you'll end up with smaller fruit. So it's really, really important that you keep the tomatoes watered. The other thing that you can do is you can buy moisture control soil from Home Depot, any kind of product that has a lot of peat moss in it, organic matter, or anything that will retain water. This tomato is a Rutgers variety. You can see many, many fruit on there. It's supported by bamboo posts that are tied off at the top like a teepee. I'm also growing Swiss chard in 2.5-gallon containers and 5-gallon containers, and they will grow all year long. These plants too will feed heavily, so you have to keep them fertilized. Chard is a great green because it grows through the heat of the summer over here, and you can pick it and use it whenever you want, and it will last the whole season. You can see back here is a 5-gallon container. It was holding in peas. I just put in another tomato, and that one is to grow through the summer and hopefully provide me fruit through September and into October. This is a black crim variety. You can see on the tomato the markings starting that distinguish it as the black crim. It will get purpley, you know, sometimes they say brown, but it's really a dark purple color. That's supported by a wire cage and bamboo posts, or poles actually. This is a Bradley variety tomato. It's doing really well. It's only supported by the bamboo canes. And one of the things I'm sort of struggling with is how to support the tomatoes, because they are doing really well. They get heavy and they start to move. But it looks like the way to go is that you'll need a wire tomato cage and you'll need the bamboo poles to help support them. This is another tomato. This is Virginia Slims. It's in an 18-gallon container. And I have found really no difference between a 5-gallon container, as long as you can keep it watered, and an 18-gallon container. If you are going to have trouble watering, you can't water every day, you want to get a bigger container, and it just buys you more time between waterings. What's interesting about this plant is it's growing large fruit. That's what it's designed for. These are going to be 1 to 2 pound fruits. But it does have some sort of disease, either mosaic virus or I damaged it somehow in the process, and the leaves are just really, really distorted. I sort of was waiting for the virus to transfer to another plant, but that's not happening. So I'm sort of curious to see what it is. And up top you can see the tip is actually, the leaves look a little bit better. So I'm not sure what it is. Even with the distorted leaves, the tomatoes are growing. I'm going to let it go and see what happens. In this container, it's another 18-gallon, I have patio dwarf hybrid tomatoes, and I thought they were going to be cherry type. They ended up being larger, which is good, and they actually are producing really well. But I did battle heavily leaf spot with this, Septora leaf spot, and you can see it on the leaf there. You can probably see it in other places. Let's see, like right in there. And what I did when I wrote a blog about Septora leaf spot was how do you get it off the stems. And actually these stems are scraped by my fingernail or with a razor. I removed the spots. The stems scarred up and the tomatoes are doing just fine. And finally, we have a dwarf cucumber, which is doing well, and a Cherokee purple. And this one again is supported with a wire cage and bamboo poles. It's doing really well. And just to recap, if you want to grow large tomatoes in containers, you need a large container, at least 5 gallons. You need to fertilize it regularly with liquid fertilizer. One last look. And you want to make sure you do water your tomato for the third key. Don't let them dry out. If they dry out, your tomatoes will be in trouble.